Welcome back to the channel, the place where we dive deep into the golden age of gaming. Today, we're going to take a nostalgic trip back to the dark and twisted world of Splatterhouse 3, one of the most gruesome and intense beat-em-ups from the early 90s. If you love horror and action, this is one title that's sure to send chills down your spine while pumping you full of adrenaline. Released in 1993 for the Sega Genesis, Splatterhouse 3 is the third installment in Namco's infamous series known for its gory gameplay and creepy atmosphere. This game takes the classic beat-em-up formula and blends it with a horror movie vibe, creating a unique experience that stands out even today. It's a must-play for anyone who enjoys a good scare mixed with their retro gaming. For those of you new to the series, Splatterhouse revolves around the character Rick Taylor, who dons the mysterious and powerful terror mask to fight against hordes of grotesque monsters and save his loved ones. The third game in the series ramps up the action and horror, offering players more freedom and a deeper story. But before we dive into all the gory details, please like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all of our deep dives into the world of retro video games. Splatterhouse 3 is set in a sprawling, ominous mansion that belongs to our protagonist, Rick Taylor. Unlike the linear progression of its predecessors, this game introduces a non-linear approach, allowing players to explore the mansion freely. The game's atmosphere is drenched in horror, with every corner of the mansion hiding dark secrets and horrifying creatures. The story kicks off with Rick living a seemingly normal life after the events of the first two games. He's now married to Jennifer and they have a young son named David. However, their peaceful existence is shattered when an ancient evil reawakens and kidnaps his family. Once again, Rick must don the terror mask, an ancient artifact with immense power that transforms him into a hulking, monstrous fighter. The terror mask isn't just a piece of creepy headgear. It's a sentient, malevolent force that grants Rick incredible strength, but also whispers dark thoughts into his mind. As Rick, players must navigate the mansion's labyrinthine rooms, battling hordes of grotesque monsters to save his wife and son before it's too late. One of the standout features of Splatterhouse 3 is its multiple endings, determined by the player's actions and speed. The game's story branches based on how quickly Rick can rescue his family members. If players take too long, the consequences are dire. This time constraint adds a layer of tension and urgency, making each playthrough a race against the clock. The narrative is delivered through chilling cutscenes that ramp up the horror. These cutscenes are illustrated with dark, graphic imagery and accompanied by eerie music, immersing players in the game's nightmarish world. They reveal the fate of Jennifer and David as Rick progresses, with their well-being hanging by a thread based on the player's performance. As Rick fights his way through the mansion, the story unfolds with each cutscene, building up to a climactic final battle. The game's multiple endings provide a sense of closure, while also encouraging replayability. Whether Rick emerges victorious or succumbs to the darkness depends on the player's skill and speed. At its core, Splatterhouse 3 retains the brutal, side-scrolling, beat-em-up mechanics that fans of the series love. Rick Taylor, now an even more formidable powerhouse thanks to the terror mask. One of the most notable gameplay changes in Splatterhouse 3 is its non-linear level design. Players navigate through a sprawling mansion, moving from room to room in search of Rick's wife Jennifer and their son David. Each level of the mansion is laid out like a maze, with multiple branching paths leading to different rooms. This design choice means that players must make strategic decisions about which routes to take to reach their objectives in time. The mansion is divided into several stages, each with its own unique set of challenges and enemies. A map screen shows Rick's current location and the rooms he can move to next, adding a layer of strategy as players plan their route. The clock is constantly ticking, creating a sense of urgency and tension that permeates the entire game. The combat in Splatterhouse 3 is visceral and satisfying. Rick can punch, kick, and perform various special moves to dispatch his foes. The controls are responsive, allowing for fluid combinations and devastating attacks. Rick's moveset has been expanded from previous games, giving players more options in how they approach combat. One of the standout features is Rick's ability to transform into a berserker. By collecting special orbs, Rick can unleash the full power of the terror mask, temporarily transforming into an even more powerful, monstrous version of himself. In this form, Rick's attacks are significantly stronger, and he can take down enemies with brutal efficiency. However, this transformation is time-limited, so players must use it strategically. Splatterhouse 3 features a wide variety of grotesque enemies, each with their own attack patterns and weaknesses. From mutated creatures to undead horrors, the game's enemies are designed to keep players on their toes. The enemy design is both horrifying and imaginative, adding to the game's eerie atmosphere. A unique gameplay element in Splatterhouse 3 is the time limit. Each stage has a set time in which Rick must complete his objectives. If players take too long, the consequences can be severe, affecting the game's ending. This time management aspect adds a layer of tension and urgency, making each decision and combat encounter critical. Splatterhouse 3 pushed the Sega Genesis to its limits with its detailed and gruesome visuals. The game's art style is dark, gritty, and intensely atmospheric, perfectly capturing the horror movie vibe that defines the series. The mansion, where the game is set, is brought to life with intricate background details and eerie lighting effects. Each room and corridor is meticulously designed to evoke a sense of dread and unease. From blood-stained walls to flickering lights, the environment itself feels like a character, constantly reminding players of the evil that lurks with it. Character sprites are large and well animated, especially Rick's hulking, masked form. The transformation into his Berserker mode is particularly impressive, showcasing a significant visual change that highlights the immense power of the Terror Mask. Enemies are equally detailed and grotesque, with designs that range from twisted mutants to reanimated corpses, all rendered with a level of detail that makes them genuinely horrifying. The sound design in Splatterhouse 3 is essential in creating its oppressive and frightening atmosphere. The game's soundtrack is composed of eerie, unsettling music that perfectly complements the on-screen action. Each track is designed to keep players on edge, using haunting melodies and dissonant tones to build tension. The music changes dynamically based on the situation, heightening the sense of urgency during intense combat sequences and boss battles. These tracks are often fast-paced and chaotic, reflecting the danger and intensity of the encounters. In contrast, exploration segments feature slower, more ominous music that amplifies the feeling of dread as players navigate the mansion's dark corridors. Sound effects in Splatterhouse 3 are equally impressive and play a crucial role in the game's horror experience. The impact of Rick's punches and kicks is accompanied by satisfying, bone-crunching sounds that emphasize the brutality of the combat. The screams and growls of enemies add to the terror, making each encounter feel like a desperate struggle for survival. Ambient sounds are used effectively to create an immersive environment. The creaking of floorboards, the distant thunder, and the echoing footsteps all contribute to the sense of being trapped in a haunted, living nightmare. These audio cues help build a palpable atmosphere of tension and fear, ensuring players are constantly on edge. Splatterhouse 3 quickly garnered a cult following. Its blend of brutal combat, strategic gameplay, and horror elements set it apart from other beat-em-ups of the era. The game's mature themes and graphic content were groundbreaking at the time, pushing the boundaries of what was considered acceptable in video games. This edge helped Splatterhouse 3 carve out a niche among horror enthusiasts and gamers looking for a more intense experience. Splatterhouse 3 was a trailblazer in the beat-em-up genre, introducing non-linear gameplay and multiple endings. These features added depth and replayability, encouraging players to explore different routes and strategies. The time management aspect was another innovative addition, creating a sense of urgency that heightened the overall tension and excitement. These elements have influenced subsequent games, showing that beat-em-ups can offer more than just straightforward action. The Splatterhouse series, and particularly the third installment, paved the way for future horror-themed games. Its atmospheric design, use of horror tropes, and emphasis on a dark, immersive narrative can be seen in later titles such as Resident Evil and Silent Hill. The game's ability to blend intense action with a genuinely terrifying atmosphere demonstrated that horror games could be both thrilling and deeply unsettling. The Terror Mask itself has become an iconic symbol within the gaming community. Its sinister design and the dark power it grants to Rick are memorable aspects of the series. The concept of a cursed, sentient artifact influencing the protagonist has been echoed in other media, showcasing the lasting impact of Splatterhouse 3 on horror storytelling. Despite its many strengths, Splatterhouse 3 faced its share of challenges and criticisms. The game's graphic violence and mature themes limited its audience, and some players found the non-linear exploration and time management aspects challenging. However, these elements are also what set the game apart, contributing to its lasting impact and appeal. We've taken a spine-chilling journey through the dark and twisted world of Splatterhouse 3, exploring its haunting story, brutal gameplay, atmospheric graphics and sound, and enduring legacy. This game is a shining example of how the early 90s pushed the boundaries of what video games could achieve, blending horror and action in a way that few titles have matched since. For those who haven't experienced Splatterhouse 3, it's a must-play. Its challenging gameplay, eerie atmosphere, and compelling narrative make it a classic worth revisiting. And for those who grew up with it, playing it again is like meeting an old friend, one that still knows how to send chills down your spine. So dust off your Sega Genesis, plug in that controller, and get ready to don the terror mask once more. Whether you're fighting your way through the mansion's grotesque inhabitants or racing against time to save your family, Splatterhouse 3 promises an unforgettable ride. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a true retro gaming classic. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. Until next time, keep questing and keep gaming.